Okay, I think we're live. Welcome everyone. It's been a hot minute since I've done a live stream, except me and Leanna did one last night watching something, but like publicly. This is the first one
You
in a
haven't had to
while.
be the entertainment in a while.
Yes, I haven't had to be the entertainment in a while, but I think that today's conversation is going to be super fun. So we are back for book club, and this time it was my pick, and I picked a book that I didn't really think
You
anybody
picked a
would
book.
like. I did pick a book. I picked one I didn't think anyone would like, but I thought would potentially have very interesting conversation. Before we even get started, I do want to make sure everyone is on the same page that this is a mature book. This is the first, I think, erotic romance we have picked on book club. So I would not recommend this for anyone under 18, or if you usually have kids around while you're watching us, maybe pop your earphones in, because I expect
I, for
that
one,
the conversation...
I attempt to speak in euphemisms, but I can't speak for everyone else.
Well, we could try, but the nature of this, the intrinsic setup of this book is pretty erotic in nature. It is based in a kink.
I was gonna say, was it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember which late night comedian it was, but there was some late night comedian that was talking about his kid, 4 years ago, wanting to know why Donald Trump is so mean to kitty cats because they had heard what was on the news. So I feel like that would be the kind of interpretations that kids who would listen to our euphemistic descriptions of this book would come away questioning.
Yeah. Well, so those are the warnings I want to give for Morning Glory Milking Farm by C.M. Nascosta. And maybe we can start as we usually do by going around the horn and introduce yourself and, give your preliminary rating or thoughts.
Okay. This is going to be such an interesting one. Hi, I'm Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany. I think I actually surprisingly liked it better than Leanna or Amanda. I didn't like it. Like, I gave it 2.5 stars and rounded up because it's an indie book.
You're like, I want to be clear, I did not like it.
I did not like it, but I didn't like this. But I have like specific... there is a world in which I could have enjoyed it, but I think there were a couple of things that made me... I want to try something else from this author. I'll put it that way. Like, I would read something else from her, but this particular book had a few things that I think made me not into it. So,
okay.
So I think in the end I gave it 2 stars because I don't hate it. I'm sure this is someone's kink. It's monster romance, and fluids, I think, is a kink.
It's a lot of fluid.
It's
a lot
of
fluids. And the cover, it's just fluids. They're like painting the walls with it. It's just so much. But so that is a kink for some people. And I'm sure it's fully fulfilling that need for that kink. For me, I do not have one, but I don't hate it. But also it was just littered with typos and grammatical errors and everything. So I don't know. 2 stars. That is, I felt right in my soul. Oh yeah, I'm Amanda, by the way.
Yes, at the Naughty Librarian. That is a good clarification, though, Amanda. We should give a disclaimer. This is a self-published book, so yeah, there are definitely typos, etc., which is pretty par for the course for something out of Kindle Unlimited.
Oh no, somebody thought it was a different kind of milking.
Oh. 3 stars. Yeah, if you guys read it, definitely put your rating in the chat.
It's
kind of milking, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
I feel like
Leanna,
the cover
how
makes
did
it
you...
pretty clear what it is. Like the art on the cover.
There is a milk.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a milk jug on it, so.
I mean, I think it's supposed to be like a kink specific cover, but not everybody knows that. So
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it has horns, so it's obviously a male animal.
I feel like seeing that cover, I would make 0 assumptions and be like, this looks iffy. I need to find out what this is before I read it. Or it can be forced on me, as in this case, and I have no choice to whatsoever.
I felt like
okay, Leanna, how did you feel about this book? Okay, so we have someone give it 5 stars. Okay, so we've got a range of opinions, which I think makes sense for the book.
Yeah.
I gave it 1 star, surprise, surprise, but also, and I talked about, I mean, I have a vlog about it, so, if anyone wants to hear more thoughts. But my ultimate conclusion about it, you know, all of my pet peeves and grievances aside, I felt like this book, unlike others that might cater to a certain kink, it didn't really offer anything other than the kink. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't offer something that I could be like, well, I'm not into that kink, but I am into these characters, or I'm not into that kink, but I am into this world. And I don't really feel like it offers anything other than the kink. And if you're into the kink, it delivers that. And if that's what you're into,
That's
go
interesting.
for it. I'm
I
glad
don't
you have
ag-
this book.
That's interesting because
totally
I
disagree.
totally disagree too. But
I think that's potentially, Lena, speaks to the fact that you've not read full-on erotica, because that truly, like, all it is.
Oh,
is
I'm
boning.
sure.
That's just porn.
I'm sure.
It's
there's no
straight up.
I guess I should be clear. I should.
You know what I think though? I think Leanna, probably it's just that the other things it offers are things you don't like.
I was gonna say I should
it,
clarify that, like, when I say it doesn't offer anything else, that's not that there aren't any scenes that don't have that kink going on in it. It's just that anytime it attempts, and I say attempts, not succeeds at having anything else suggested to be a topic of conversation, it is so poorly done that there is not anything actually there for me to then like engage with, because it's like it's there but like not really. We're only here for the kink.
Which again, I think that's just because it didn't work for you. I think a lot of, anyway, we'll get into it. But
to that point, they do things that aren't kink related. Like they go get coffee. That's end of sentence. Like, but even when she's doing anything else, like she has such like a limited thought pattern. Like all she ever thinks about are bills, drinks, and his dick.
Oh
like
my
that's
god,
all
she
she
thinks
thinks
about
about.
it so much. Like her
So it kind of like
fantasizing
keeps
was
getting
too much.
It goes back to the kink no matter what she's doing. She's like, oh, I need to pay my bills, but that dick though. Like that's like her whole thought process.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, she is into there's no denying she likes his Minotaur dick. I will say, so I'm trying to think of how to like focus, because I already know what Leanna's problems with this are, which really amuse me. So I guess maybe my first question, which I think Leanna thinks that this, again, Leanna states her opinion so strongly, we should say, this is Leanna's opinion, because clearly there's other people who disagree with like, they got something out of this. But
there's people who gave us 5 stars. I am not one of them.
Yes. So aside from the business model aspect of it, I think one of the questions that the book is at least attempting to raise, we can talk about how well it does that, is what our main character is doing intrinsically sexual in nature, or can it be intrinsically non-sexual in some way? Like, I think that's one of the tensions that it's trying to ask of the reader.
It's kind of like they tried so hard to make it like a medical procedure in the milking farm, you know, even though they have the ones they call like good little cows where they have to put on special aprons for the fantasy of it. So I'm like, like you try real hard to have it be scientific, but like, are you trying that hard? Why are you jerking them by hand at all? Like, this can't be efficient. Just stick the hose on them and then you're done. That would be a medical procedure. You like having to like work it up seems at the best not a good business model. Like that just can't be efficient.
Well, you know, they do explain that this particular location is different from other locations because they have individual people, because the other places do the medical procedure, but people like this place because of the personal touch.
Yeah, because they're getting jerked off.
That's a way to entice.
They're paying them.
Right. Well, no, but I mean, I think it's like from the pharmaceutical. Well, this is getting into the issue we're going to talk about later, like the business model. But so I won't.
The business model, which is the big problem.
Leanna's biggest problem with this entire book is, which is amazing. But so.
I mean, I think it is sex work. I actually wish that the book hadn't tried so hard to say that it isn't, because there's nothing wrong with it being sex work.
That's my biggest critique too, Bethany. When I was rereading, I was like, I wish that it could just be like, I'm giving people handies, and that's okay.
Yeah,
because I have bills,
and that like it's like there's nothing wrong with it. It's done in a place where the people doing it are safe and well taken care of. I mean, it could have been a book about like you know, better working conditions for sex workers instead of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just,
Well, I agree with that. I don't think this is the book to try to like handle that topic. Because the main part of it is just like, hey, let's go fuck a minotaur. Like, I think that's the main part of the book. But I fully agree with you. I just don't know if this is the right book to do that in.
I just felt like the setup, the business model, but like many facets of the setup and of the business model, they make so little sense that if we building on the back of that want to have a conversation about is this sex work, I'm like, I can't have that conversation because the premise is so faulty that I cannot now from that premise now say, well, if this is the situation, is this or isn't this not sex work? I'm like, but this situation makes literally no sense. So like, I can't have that conversation with you.
Well, I think that it failed to help you suspend your disbelief. Is that a fair assessment? Because I guess I'm saying, because if you go read reviews, clearly plenty of other people felt like, oh, this made me think about this. So clearly that's not a universal experience, and what I would therefore
but there are like
suggest
some
is
key
maybe you didn't.
components. But there are some key things that like would need to be present for me to say, okay, like I suggested some solutions that like you could leave the book entirely as it is, and it would never be my favorite book, but I could be like, okay, now we can have this conversation where like if like there's, you know, if they were paying for it, if the clients who are receiving money, because I'm pretty sure that's not the definition of client, but the clients who are getting paid by the bank are the ones, if instead they were paying for these services, or if they were not paid and we're not paying, but like that's what they get out of it. Like, you know, they are serviced by them, and like, so that we're not going to pay you for your milk, but we are going to offer you the service that you enjoy. So like, you know, it's like Google, where like it's free to use, well, we get your data. So like there's ways that this could function.
well,
where like,
but I mean, the thing is that like there are private places that pay for like sperm. If it, like, for instance,
exactly, but they are not called clients, and they don't pay somebody to wank you off to get your sperm.
But see, this is where I think you're getting a little pedantic on the use of the word client. I think that that's like a euphemism for like essentially it's trying to get the employees to treat the people coming for giving the fluid.
I mean, people
with like a customer service mindset.
Right. I mean, people are still called clients, for instance, if they're like coming in to receive government services from a social worker or something. Like they're still called clients. Like it's more about the customer service mindset. It's not about whether they're paying for something.
Yeah. So, I mean, I take the point that like, I agree. If you're paying the people, they are not strictly speaking a customer. They're a fellow employee.
Why are they tipping?
They're like freelance.
The tipping, I think, introduces an interesting dynamic. And I personally, part of what I liked about this book is that it felt self-aware to me, that it's like silly and like it's attempting to have like a different kind of tone for a kink-based book.
Yeah.
And I liked the silly, lighthearted tone with what would otherwise be like too intense of a kink for me to read about. But I, for instance, like the fact that like he has corporate swag, like he has like some random free t-shirt that they gave to him at some point. Like things like that made me feel like, yes, like I'm imagining, like I can imagine the kind of business where like it's trying to make you feel like a valued part of their organization. So they give you this crappy free t-shirt that you use to mow the lawn in.
I thought it was funny.
It's funny. Like I fully agree. Like it's trying very much to be silly, but like whether or not it succeeds, I guess is debatable.
I think different people just have different things they find fun. Like I think for Leona to have fun, she needs it to be fully internally consistent, and I would not disagree that it is not fully internally.
Well, okay, I'll tell you what. I resented the book suggesting to me that it can have this conversation when it has not earned the right to have the conversation it thinks it wants to have, because it has not set up a situation that makes enough sense to have that conversation. So I was like, don't try to have a conversation if you're not actually building the setup to have the conversation. Don't try to have it.
To me, it's sort of like you put spinach in the brownies. Like I think that's the approach the book is trying to take. Is like you're here for the brownies, but while you're here,
let's put a few sneak a few veggies in. Yeah, I mean, like similar, which I'm fine with. That doesn't bother me.
Oh yeah, okay. And here's another example, like where they call you a guest, even though you're paying. But hey, look, I think that this is a divisive book, and I said, I expected
Yeah.
none of you to like it at all. So I'm just delighted that any of you liked it even a little bit.
I mean, it's funny because like those were not my issues. Like I thought the setup was interesting. I really liked the town and the coffee shop. Like I liked the cozy vibes, which I'm not surprised Leanna didn't like that. She didn't like Legends and Lattes for similar reasons, I think. So like I just think cozy SFF is not her thing. Which is fine. But
It's just boring.
it's not, I love it. I don't think it's boring at all. I love it. It makes me happy, but to each their own, which is totally fine.
Yes.
My issues with this book are like, okay, these were like my three things. Number one, like it was a lot of fluid, not my.
It honestly didn't even clock.
We haven't even really addressed the fact that there is, I would say, a smooth 20% of this book devoted to describing fluid in some capacity.
I made a note, and it says, "I don't even want to fathom a 2 liter of jizz." It's one of my notes for this book.
Yeah, when they're describing the amount of
and they have like
semen
chemicals to dissolve it so it doesn't clog like the drains.
That was another one of my notes. I'm like, girl, you're never gonna clean those sheets. We're gonna get your neighbor
I thought that
pregnant
too.
and put them in the washing machine.
I was
no.
like, you would have to literally put down like a plastic mat every time
Murder
you
tarps.
wanted to get it on with him in your bed.
It's so much.
Like,
honestly, like this book, because I was set up to be like, that's what I went in prepared for. Here I'm going to be making faces. I'm going to be grossed out. This is going to be the kinkiest fuckery of all. And honestly, like, I felt very little actually like, I don't know, shock or disgust, because honestly, like, it was kind of like watching like silly action alien movies where the alien explodes and then someone gets slimed. Like that's how I felt reading it, where I was like, I don't really feel like this is like, oh, this is so sexual and dark. I'm just like, it's like an alien slimed you. Like, I'm just like, that's gross.
Yeah, I mean, not dark, just gross. But yeah, like similar to an alien slime.
Amanda cannot handle that visual.
Well, at one point she did like miss the bucket, and she was like, I had to go change my scrubs because she had like a 2 liter of jizz all over her body from that one guy.
Oh my
It
God.
is so much fluid. Like, it is
So much.
an astonishing amount of fluid that we are talking
It's a
about.
lot.
Okay. Also, she spent too much time fantasizing. I was like, I'm tired of this. Like, it's so much.
All the time.
Like, the actual relationship was slow burn, but she's fantasizing all the time. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, I get it. Can we do something else now?
If we want to have a conversation about whether or not this is sex work and whether or not this is a medical procedure and this is a pharmaceutical company, and it has set itself up as a pharmaceutical company in which we wear gloves and there's, labels and everything sanitized. So like all the window dressing this is a doctor's office where you get this done. And so the fact that, two things about that bothered me in how then the book carried on. There's a staff member who is new that's getting trained, and she's so bad at her job because she treats it like a medical procedure. And she needs to get trained by our MC because, like, you don't get it. You're supposed to make it sexual. And you're just like, no. And then the fact that, as you said, she's fantasizing about it from the get-go. And I'm like, if you're saying, and go to a doctor's office, like, I as a female going to a male doctor don't want,
it's only his
It's only him.
I don't care. I don't want to think that I go to a doctor and they're looking at my junk and I'm like, am I the one patient that they fantasize about and look forward to having me come so they can do the procedure that I'm here to do? Everything is, gloves are worn and everything's done. But like, no.
Well, and I mean, there are doctors who are creepy like that, but like I
couldn't.
No, but I mean, I guess the thing with this is that I was less bothered.
Like, don't make my pap
it's
smear
just, like,
pleasurable. Don't do that.
But you're not, I hope anyway, you're not orgasming during your pap smear.
That's because I don't go to a facility that specifically caters to orgasmic pap smears.
Well, but like, your orgasm is not an integral part of the medical procedure that you are having.
Unfortunately.
Right.
So, I mean, sadly, I feel like a pap smear, well, maybe an IUD
People would go more regularly,
like the opposite of this mindset is an IUD insertion. But no, I mean, but I get what you're saying. I can see that.
I mean, I think it's fair, but I guess I was less bothered by it because it's such a typical romance trope where it's like everything is normal, but this one person, you know what I mean? And I think like if they weren't so hype on trying to make it not sex work, it would make more sense too, because it goes with the trope of like the person who does sex work and it's like, whatever, it's a job, except the one person that like is really,
Which, let me give, what is the name of this book? So Noelle Adams, writing as Claire Kent, has a book called, I think it's called Escorted. Yeah, which is a male sex worker who this woman hires to take her virginity. And then it's that trope of like, she's like the one exception that like helps him, overcome his trauma and makes him leave the gig behind.
Yeah.
But I think it's more like it explores some of the ethical questions. And to your point, what you were saying earlier, Bethany, which is my critique upon reread, like it just is straight up sex work. So like there's no hemming and hawing about like,
no,
is this person a sex worker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And his question
okay.
is the same. Yeah, that is true. That's another one.
Yeah, it is like that.
What happens in the kiss quotient?
The kiss quotient, she is autistic and has problems with touch and hires a sex worker to help her get comfortable with sex. And they end up, falling for each other. Which I get that like some people just don't like that as a thing. But
which I think
it's
very fair.
It gets into the territory of like, is it okay? Is this somebody that you can never actually have a relationship with because of how you met? That's like, let's say, you're fresh out of college and you're a school teacher and you're teaching a high schooler. Your actual age difference is 4 years, which is a reasonable age difference for a couple to have. But you were the teacher of this high school student. That's not an option.
Which, by the way, that is so I have 2 examples from my high school. 2 of our teachers ended up marrying people I went to school with, one of whom started having romantic feelings to her when she was 17 and he was like 30. So I think we can all say how we feel about that. But the other one was
it Jane Eyre and Mr. Rochester?
No. But the other one, she had graduated from college and they like reconnected in our hometown. And so like it's a little weird. But
if it's been a while and you're adults, then like,
they're both
whatever.
adults, and like it's a weird thing to explain to their kids now of like back when I was teaching your mom when she was in middle school.
I mean, if they met later and then that's when the relationship starts, like that's better though than like if they start the relationship. Which is like all of these scenarios.
Because then it's not like grooming or something.
Right. But so like all the scenarios that we're talking about, this is like they meet during and start a relationship during the like sex worker is hired to help.
Oh, are you okay?
Oh God, I just had a bug on my foot and
are you okay?
A not sexy bug.
Okay.
Freaked me out.
Speaking of sexy bugs, one of C.M. Nascosta's other novels is
there should be no sequitur.
A humanoid spider
exoskeletons.
And there's like spider leg kink and like web kink in that one. That one wasn't as sweet as this one, so it was too much for me.
That's too much.
I would assume with webs. It's sticky.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good point. I didn't like that she was fantasizing about someone else whilst with other clients. Like, it's just a weird, it's an interesting, I don't know. It was a weird dynamic.
Just speaking of dynamics and the business model, I'm just going back through all
let's go back to the business model.
But at one point I highlighted humans have commodified us, and my note was capitalism sucks even in fantasy handjob land.
Yeah, well, which is part of I think the point of the book. I do think that's
commodization of them as male minotaurs and how they're buying their sperm for boner pills. So like there's like a deeper subject there about like commodifying other people. But they not that they go into it very hard. But I thought that was funny at least. Fantasy handjob land.
Yeah, I do think that that's intentional. Like I do think that it's meant to be, again, spinach and the brownies. I don't think this is like the main point of the book, but I think one of the things it's bringing up is like how exploitative capitalism is for everyone. Like, like there's a very explicit conversation about like her student loans and like the fact that she's gotten all this education and can't do anything with it. And like, what is she going to do to make ends meet? And, like I said, I like the details about like weird corporate culture of like the t-shirts and like the weird corporate swag that they give out. Like, I think that is intentional. I take Leona's point about like, I'm not totally sold that the business model actually makes sense. It does make sense to me, like speaking as someone who's in product development, that they would have different facilities that had different approaches to see like which one ultimately was the most profitable. So like maybe
this would not be profitable.
But maybe it's like a volume versus like your profit. Like if you increase your volume of acquisition, maybe it offsets the costs of having somebody there to
I
do
would
the
like to see
milking.
some numbers on that.
There's
Well,
a
we would
lot
have
of
to see.
businesses though in Cambric Creek that function on the same wavelength of like milking someone, whether for their blood for the vampires or for their semen for boner pills. Like there's like a lot of like hand job related jobs in Cambric Creek. There's a lot of them, and it's kind of like exploitative in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could get a tote bag for that, I would take the tote bag. You're not
For
wrong.
real. That's a conversation starter when you're out and about getting your produce at the farmer's market.
But
I
like,
do
there's
think
so
it's
many
interesting.
jobs that like suck things out of other people. There's a larger conversation to be had there with capitalism, I think.
But I mean,
and
again, like
also,
now,
that's
like sperm banks pay men for sperm. Egg donors get paid for their eggs. People sell their organs on the black market. Like this, without minotaurs, without vampires, this occurs in our real
Yeah.
life. So like those
Yeah.
are genuine conversations to. I mean, I studied
But
medical
these are like
anthropology as well,
legitimate
which
businesses
like.
too.
Yeah.
But like medical anthropology is concerned with the commodification of the human body, and so like those are legitimate conversations to have. And this book,
It's not the
pretending
place
like
for
it had
them.
something to say about that, I was like, no, you don't.
I do think it's an interesting. I hadn't made that connection, Amanda, but I think that's a really interesting point about the contrast of this book to the more typical kind of kink in paranormal romance, which is vampires and like the vampire man sucking the blood from the woman, like the human woman. And this is kind of like the reversal
Mm.
of like that we don't see as often, of where it's like the human woman who's like taking the fluid from the paranormal man. Like that, I hadn't thought about that, but that's an interesting idea. So we can include this in our thesis about, you know, this text. This is a rich text.
Okay, here's one thing. I don't know if anyone else picked up on this, but like it bothered me. There's a lot of times when they're talking whilst fucking, and he's just like, and he was talking about the Minotaur of the legend, and I'm like, is this like exploitative? This seems like this has gone down a bad rabbit hole.
This made me think of like in porn, like subcategories that are fetishizing different like racial stereotypes. That was what that made me think of. I was like, I don't know about this.
I don't know about this either. And also, she was carrying around a leather handbag, and I was like, "Is this offensive? Like, what kind of leather was it? like, is it just me? Like, I was picking up on strange things in this book."
Oh,
this is. I mean,
this is a good point.
This is accurate, honestly.
I feel seen. I feel seen by that comment.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
So, like, one of my other things that bothered me about this is that when she's into him before they start dating, her behavior, if a guy was doing it, would be stalkerish.
I thought that too. Yeah.
Which again, the same thing about when she's performing the procedures, and I'm saying like a male gynecologist feeling this kind of way about me, I would be like, no, absolutely not.
But
Even
I
if you're
think
hot, I don't care.
But the thing is I think because it actually is sex work, like they would be okay with it. But you have to like acknowledge that it is sex work.
Right, but which it kept insisting that it wasn't, and then getting mad at anyone who didn't treat it as sex
that
work.
I found annoying. I mean, I just think it's silly.
I agree.
Is it or isn't it?
If I had like a critique for this book that I think we could all agree would make it better, would be to just like lean into the fact that it's sex work and like like and maybe explore like this is kind of a different kind of sex work than like the stereotype, because it is rooted in like some kind of different type of capitalistic function. Like it's like, for instance, the guy who was coming to get money to, I think, like send his kid to college.
Yeah.
Like,
Which,
I think
I think she's trying to relate it to people who like donate blood plasma or sperm or whatever, like for eggs and stuff for income. Which is interesting.
But men who donate their sperm would love to be serviced in this way, but they are not.
Well, some of them, but yeah, I mean, it's.
But wouldn't that have been an even more interesting conundrum? Like if we just acknowledged it was sex work and it's like, I'm going to like, I love my partner, but like, this is a way to make money. And I'm going to the sex worker to make money, and
Yeah.
like I
there's
think
a
that would be a
difference.
more interesting
I think it's
ethical
interesting.
dilemma.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, like I think they were describing it as just like it's sex work to some people, but sex work, it's not sex work to some other people. Like they were saying people who go into heat and they need like a sex worker to help like unheat them.
Yeah.
You know, it's sex work to the person who needs that, but the person doing it might not necessarily be sex work as they're performing a service.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a deeper conversation than I think the book means to have.
Well, though, I think I don't know that it does it perfectly, but I think that it is wanting to like invite. Let's put it this way, compared to other like kink-based things I've read, I think this one is much more intentionally inviting some of that thought process. I do agree with what Books and Movies is saying. Alas, the most professional thing to do in romances would not lead to a romance. That is very true.
You're not wrong.
But when you were just saying if they like leaned into it being sex work, or alternatively, if the whole facility did treat this as a medical procedure where all of the people that have her job, literally all they do is they hook you up to the machine because, you know, you need like, that's like you have a nurse do it for you. Like you don't do it yourself when you like give blood or something, you know, like you have the person properly connect the thing, and that she's the only one that for some reason they hit it off. She's like, what if I did it by hand for a bit for you, which you're not supposed to do? And then this could kind of make sense, but no.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I think it's about they're trying to extract as much as possible, and it is more effective.
It is very focused on getting every last drop. That is a mantra.
Yeah. One thing about this thing of like Googling like ex-wives, if you are actually dating a person, sure, Google them. But like if you're like just fantasizing about them, you have no actual relationship with them, it's creepy. It's stalker behavior. Plus she's like driving around wondering what house he lives in. I don't know. I was creeped out by it. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I
he has
agree
like
that if
a
it was
one-track
man, we
mind.
wouldn't be into it. Yeah.
Well, 3 tracks. Bills, drinks, and his dick. Like, that's it.
His dick / the fluid from his dick.
Can we talk about some of the words they used to describe his dick?
Please do. Please do.
Because I highlighted deep
I literally
winking
just started
slit.
eating.
That was
Too
your
bad.
story.
Deep winking slit. Why is it winking?
Because I think I know what she's getting at there, but I don't like it.
Yeah. Shiny pink crescent of that domed helmet.
I
Just
mean,
barely peeking out of its fleshy confines.
yeah, I mean, some of that though is just like goes with the territory with the stuff.
I
don't
know.
know.
I had never seen the word winking in relation to a penis before, so I'm like, well, that's new.
Honestly, the one that I clocked as being the most strange was when she was talking about all the different colors that they come in, and that one of them she described as bubblegum pink, and I was like, bubblegum.
But see, this is where I wish we could talk to someone who found this book sexy, because I don't find this book sexy, but I find it like weirdly sweet, which I like. But I would love to talk to someone who genuinely does find this sexy, because like,
well, we had a couple 5 stars in the comments. Maybe we could get some insight. I know this is the wrong breakfast food.
Oh man. But yeah, I don't find it sexy, but I found it sweet and different than books like it that I'd read. Like, I get why this was the one that took off relative to like on Kindle Unlimited right now. There's any number of like monster erotica type things, and this one I felt like had more of a point of view to it. Maybe that's what
this one had a millennial on the struggle bus. That's why it took off.
I mean, I think that's part of it. I also think though, like there's something appealing about this like small town with all these magical like creatures and like this little coffee
it's like
shop.
Gilmore
and, like,
Girls.
It is. It's like weirdly cozy.
It is.
Even though it's a pink-based book. It's
well, and honestly, like that's the part I liked about it that made me like, maybe I would try something else in this series. maybe and see.
Now,
You know,
I would be so I've got this. I meant to get to it before we did this, and I forgot. There is a sequel out that I want to read, but I've read another book that's based in the same world, where they have like a girls' weekend, and each of them has a different either romance or sexual encounter. And that was an interesting book. I would be interested to hear. I didn't like it nearly as much.
Mhm.
I think it was underdeveloped. Like I have technical issues with it much more than this one,
Mhm.
but I think she just has a lot of interesting ideas, or he, I don't know the gender of this author. They have a lot of interesting ideas in this space that make them at least like, huh, that was different, or like that you have like an interesting thought there.
Oh,
that
you
even
mean
if I
the
didn't love
author
it.
is a she?
Yeah. Oh, is a she?
She's
Okay.
on TikTok. Like
Yeah. I don't know. I don't necessarily. I think I have a lot of issues with the book, with all of the books I've read from her, but they're always interesting, like,
Yeah.
and they're a little different. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll just go
yeah,
back to
I think it's
rereading
fair.
Radiance.
Okay.
When they finally get into all the beefy, dirty, like,
Oh, so
it's
much.
a lot.
I'm just getting to those highlights. Hold on.
okay, share. Amanda, I feel like came
I'm
prepared.
so
with
glad I
the story.
decided to stop eating my breakfast. I'll eat this later.
There's a lot of like words they use because he has a cow mouth about how he does things, like snuffling and slurping, muzzle being used in sexy context, and it felt almost like it fetishizing it even more, because I'm like, she was way sorry, Leanna. But it was just like really getting into that whole like cow thing.
And he deeply bellows when he orgasms, a la a cow.
Okay.
Like when you think of like the like that is
right. The bleeding they do when they finish, even at the place, and I'm like,
oh my gosh, I don't know. At least that's the kind of thing that I'm like, I don't find it hot, but I find it funny, so I'm not like bothered.
But also, can I just say that like I get it. I mean, like, I don't get it, but I get it that in novels like this, bigness is good. Bigness is great.
oh
But,
my
like,
gosh, no.
This level of bigness is like medically concerning that I was like,
thank you.
are you
Thank you.
okay?
You know what? This
I
is
wrote-
this is
it's a
the thing.
conceit.
It's a
Yeah,
thing.
it's a conceit of the subgenre that somehow the heroine's vagina is magically able to take this like unreasonably sized dick.
Yeah, it's just
Like,
it's
It's
Okay.
a genre
oh,
convention.
it's a genre convention. It's you don't take it too seriously. Like
Like,
is
I
it
think
realistic? No.
Yeah, at one point they mentioned the outline of his cock would be visible through her belly.
Just don't think about it too hard.
So also, okay, yeah. Like
I'm
after they're
picturing,
doing,
you know, when you go to a delicatessen and they have the uncut like salamis and uncut liverwursts that are just like in the window case, it's like fucking one of those.
Bigger.
yeah, it's so I'm gonna say that I like the book so much less once they actually have sex, because the sex I don't like. But
Like
I was gonna read
okay.
something and I think it's even too dirty in the context of this to read out loud. But
Yeah,
I will say
Go.
it was after they do it, and like they're in a relationship, so they're doing it on the reg now. She says it was a waste, a terrible, awful waste to bottle his potent release and sending it off to be refined into little blue pills for human men. Now that she knew how sweet it was on her tongue, how good it felt to be filled until it ran down her thighs and made a mess of the towels upon the sheets, she hated the idea of him selling it.
Oh my god.
And I don't like that, because
I
I'm
don't like
like,
that either.
I think that is some like really weird.
Controlling.
I don't like
yeah.
that.
Like yeah.
I also mentioned on that because let's be real, he has like a very big penis.
I mean, I honestly like this.
And
Yes.
like it's all the way in there. There's no extra space, and he's supposed to finish inside of her. Then I started thinking about overfilled water balloons. Like,
Which
there's
is-
no way that's gonna work.
Which is
like,
what
she's gonna
happens.
explode.
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, it all runs out.
There's no way for it to go if he's all the way in and releasing. There's no space for it. It's an overfilled water balloon, and she would pop. And it would hurt my feelings. Like I was like, oh no. I just felt bad for her vagina. Like, there's no way it worked.
I just don't think too hard about these things because
I went down a rabbit hole.
Because it never makes sense. Like it's I don't know. I just
And,
kind of gloss over it and like, okay, and that. I don't know.
I do agree that if you like a cozy with a monster kink kind of thing, Regina Abel's Prime Dating Agency is a little less like,
yes, less erotica.
Yeah.
You know what's cozy? Radiance.
Radiance is not cozy.
No.
It's very cozy.
I like it, but
I mean,
There's
I
a
like
lot of
it, but I
peril in
wouldn't.
it.
But it's not a cozy book.
Like, if
Yes,
they
it
didn't
is.
do any of the peril and the fighting in it, it could be cozy.
And there's
Like,
very
just having
little
them-
peril or fighting.
I mean, he loses an eyeball. Like, there's a lot.
At the end. That's at
There's
the
a lot of
end.
it.
I mean,
But
it's
most of
like,
them is like learning to live together and manage the
Yeah.
household and like, what do you
I
guys
think
eat for
that
dinner?
part could
That's
be
gross.
cozy.
Like,
Yeah. Like, their friendship developing into, like, hey, our genitals are complementary. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. That could be cozy. But then there's, like, a lot of other things that aren't so cozy in it.
Laura, yes, this is, you get a lot of sex scene descriptions that are individually ridiculous, but just skim past.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was reading it more closely this time since we were going to have this conversation, and I liked the sex scenes far less because I was reading it more closely rather than
You just
they
kind of
fuck.
skim it like they're,
Yeah.
I just water balloons is all I could think of the whole time. And it was, oh no.
Oh no. Wow. Yeah. Also, why is he so rich?
I don't know what
We
he
never-
does for a living. What
we
does he
never
do?
find, we never,
Was he a lawyer? Maybe
He's
I
a
don't know what he
business
did.
guy. Oh wait, no, he did something with agriculture, and he was like a
he
lawyer.
owns-
I think
he owns businesses.
like he was.
but
he
didn't
was
he
doing
like
a,
own
he was
like
at a law
equipment
firm.
for?
Yeah.
It was like equipment for farming that he like
Yeah.
sells.
Okay.
Well, he like
Or
owns that
something.
company, but it's not the only thing he owns. It's like one of the, I don't
Yeah.
know. He's a,
He's
you
a
know,
mogul.
He's
he's
a mogul.
He is.
There you go.
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
goes to the milking farm on his lunch break?
Which
Yes.
also like
Yeah.
I just didn't buy that like usually the kind of people that look for extra cash are people that are not well to do, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and the way that it was explained is that like culturally or like within the Minotaur men community, they all kind of feel like, well, if we like, it's kind of a waste to not.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, if you're already going to be making it, you might as well get paid for it.
Yeah, that seems
I
to
mean,
be
is,
kind
is
of
that how
at
every
least
man
theoretical
feels about going
attitude.
to a sperm bank?
I don't know if they always pay them at the
Well,
sperm bank.
some do. I mean,
Some
there
do,
are
yeah.
like there are men who like go a lot because
Mobile.
they want to spread their
But again,
seed
I don't-
around.
I might be wrong about this, but I don't think the men, oh god. I don't think the men who frequent sperm banks are all that well to do.
Well, some like
Yeah.
wasn't there? Haven't they had a couple of cases where like some guy was just like really into
Yes,
being a sperm donor, and it's
and they
come
had to
find out
limit
that,
it. Yeah,
well, yeah, like they found out that he's had like hundreds of kids, and they didn't all realize that they were related, and it like was a whole
That's
thing.
a whole bucket of worms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of, I mean, apparently because the sperm banks that pay more. It's so interesting. I read an article on this once. They pay more for certain people. So if you have high SAT scores and you go to an Ivy League school,
Well, it's the same
and you're
it's
like,
the same thing for egg donors.
yeah, like so a lot of it is like elite college students. It's like wealthy white guys who go to Ivy League colleges who want money for beer. Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, that's like a lot of the
Because we need more of those. We need more of that energy in the world for sure.
Yeah.
They aren't like family men who are business moguls who own multiple businesses and properties.
Mobiles, as he must now be
Yeah,
Yeah,
referred
Beth
to.
is killing it with the puns.
Oh,
like, I'm
yeah.
loving it.
Yeah, he's a mobile. Well, are there other thoughts before we start to talk about the book that we're going to read next? I feel like we got a good. We accomplished my goal, which was to have an interesting conversation.
Are you okay, Bethany?
It's the bug. It's back.
The bug was back. I think I killed it this time.
Good.
Oh my God.
Once he crossed your threshold, he signed his own death warrant.
I've been like watching, so I was like, it was on my foot and it freaked me out. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I think I hit all my fun notes. And I took a lot of notes.
Yeah, there was also this. I remember that was a different situation, but yeah. This doctor, fertility doctor, who's using his own jizz. Ooh,
Oh yeah, the wedding ring in the nose.
I thought that was an interesting, like, I like that as a detail.
I think like as a cultural thing, like some type of cultural world building, it kind of worked. Like why they're doing it.
Yeah. And a fun way to like play on the real in our world having those
also
rings
they had Mothman, like the Mothman lived there and they had a little moth family.
Book, right? Isn't the next book?
Yeah,
that's the next book, the Mothman. Like
I think so.
I don't fuck with exoskeletons, so I don't really want to go there. But like, I appreciated that the Mothman had a little moth family. I thought that was really cute because the baby was still like a little larva, didn't have wings yet.
It's like something creatures are.
In the one with the 3 different protagonists, there's orcs. Yeah, they have like all kinds of creatures in Cambria Creek.
I mean, again, I would just like to point out that 2 different species can't procreate together, but that's all I'll say about that.
Well, they had little moth babies. So
that was the other.
Lady.
Yeah, that was the other issue.
I mean, it's a fantasy.
It is a fantasy, so therefore, yes, they can.
Oh.
it's called magic.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
If it was a sci-fi, I would have more of an issue with that, but.
It's a fantasy, but there isn't magic in this world. It's only a fantasy insofar as these creatures do not actually exist in our world. But there isn't anything stated that is like magical about them. They just are another creature that is alive.
Witches. And it is meant to be a magical world. Like there are people who do magic in this world. There's like fae.
You didn't see them in this book.
You just didn't see them in this particular one.
Did anyone like her?
So you're
like,
saying that they need to go to a
friend?
witch to get they need to go to a witch to get like magical basically in vitro so that 2 different species can get together, then I would buy it. If you have witches offering in vitro for cross-species procreation, I'd be like, there's a book.
Leanna, it's an alternate world, so like things can work differently.
Yeah. I'm just like, you know what? At this point, she's fucking a bull man. Like,
I mean,
yeah, at this point, it's like, come on.
Why not? Yeah, but like, her vampire friend kind of talked like a chimney sweep, and that was a little fun for me.
Yeah.
Just like,
I do not like her friend. I found her friend very annoying.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't mind her. It was fun to shoot the chimney sweep vampire. Yeah. It was like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins, but like a female vampire.
Yeah.
It's step in time, Mary Poppins. It was full chimney sweep.
Any other thoughts or things we have not covered?
I think that was all of my thoughts, pretty much.
That was pretty much same.
Well, we all experienced this together.
Did.
This is also something that
you
happened.
know what?
I mean, it made for an interesting.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys being good sports, Leanna in particular, for letting me make you read something I knew you were not going to like. And I think we had a good conversation. So we broke our erotic romance cherry on the book club. And Bethany, do you want to talk about the book you've chosen for October?
Yes. We are going to be reading The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas, and I'm excited. It's a like gothic mystery thing, historical, set in Mexico, and I've heard good things about it. So
yeah, it's been getting good reviews.
Yeah. It's Mexican Gothic meets Rebecca,
which sounds great.
Yeah. So I've read both of those.
Same. Yeah. Yeah.
It was a book of the month club pick if you want to get it, you know. As an add-on or something. So
and that'll be our Halloween show over on Bethany's channel.
Yes.
I'm a little sad I don't get the Halloween show this year, but it's okay.
How is Leanna going to get her revenge is the question.
I have time to plot.
You do. You do.
Yeah, I felt like we were being a little mean to, oh gosh, tentacle monsters. I thought we were being a little mean to you, Leanna. When I was reading this, I was like, I feel like we're being mean.
It was short.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
Thankfully.
picked like a 400-page tome like this. That would have been a little.
I'll say
much.
War and Peace, but make it monster erotica in a small town.
Yeah.
No.
Although that might be interesting. You might have liked that better.
No. You would have to have more solid world building to pull that off.
No kidding.
I'm just picturing War and Peace, but like with monsters put into the characters.
It's like Pride
how
and
that
Prejudice,
world
but
would
with
work.
zombies. Like
Right.
Pride and
Yeah.
Prejudice and zombies. Like, yeah. I mean, I'd read it.
A really long time ago, Leanna and I got very drunk and watched Pride and Prejudice and Zombies together, and that was a fun time. I just
I
remember
actually
that the
liked
other
that
day.
movie. I feel like I
I
got
do
kind
I
too.
love
of
that movie.
shitted on.
I
but
don't like
liked it.
zombies, but I like that movie.
I never saw it because I was like, I can't do zombies with my Pride and Prejudice.
Something about putting zombies in historical context makes me like okay with zombies. Like normally I don't like zombies. But if it's like Pride and Prejudice and zombies or like reading the
Dread Nation.
Dread Nation, like
Mhm.
having them in a historical context, I don't know if that divorces it to like, well, that's a ye olde fantasy problem. It's not a modern day walking down my street problem.
Yeah. Makes it a little different.
Yeah. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining me, and definitely join us on Bethany's channel the last Saturday of October, which is
That's the land.
Please?
It's the 30th or something. I think it's the day before Halloween.
yeah, it's the day before Halloween,
Perfect. And
Yep.
yeah,
or
Yeah.
no, the 29th. Sorry,
Oh, never mind.
but the weekend of Halloween.
Halloween is a Monday?
Yeah,
That's tragic.
yeah.
Sorry.
So join us
Yeah,
on the
usually
29th
it's an
on
evening
Bethany's channel.
show. Yeah, usually it's an evening show. I don't know if we're going to still do an evening or if we're going to do it every day. I don't think
I
we've
don't
just
know.
talked about it.
we have not. So
We'll
we'll
figure it out.
we'll
figure it
figure it
out and
out.
let you know.
You guys will know
We'll
when we
dress
know.
up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what are we gonna dress up as?
Gothic
Something
heroines.
Gothic.
Okay. I'll have to
Take-
think about that.
Take that however you want.
Okay. I'll have to do some online
So hot
inspo
topic heroines.
searching. Yeah, hot to- yeah.
Like
An emo
honestly, I
goth
was
kid.
thinking like Corpse Bride. Like that's where I went. I'm like I don't have anything else to pick from.
I'm thinking black t-shirt with safety pins.
Sure.
Do you guys have lives planned? Anybody have any lives that are coming up soon?
I do reading sprints live every Monday on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
So Monday nights at 5 p.m. If anyone wants to join and like hang out and read, or if anyone wants to, or if any of you ladies would like to co-host, I'm available.
Yeah,
Mondays at 5.
Cool.
reading sprints are good.
Yeah, I don't have anything planned right now, but I do them periodically. I think for August, I'm probably going to have to do my mid-month wrap-up as a live stream because I'm traveling like in the middle of the month.
Yeah,
So that'll probably be happening. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing book club with my friend Kim for Sources of the Self at the end of August. So if you want to join for Philosophy Like Whoa, I think we're gonna do well. Theoretically, we're gonna read to the end of the book, but that may not happen. So at least like 150 more pages. But that's the only other one I've got up on the docket. And I feel like you're always in like a million live shows, but
Yeah, but I'm like a lot of it was, like series. So like August is pretty open for me. I'm really
Oh, wait,
excited to
are we
not do
gonna
anything in
do-
August.
we're gonna
Except
do one
for
for the
Sword of
Tawny Man
Truth.
trilogy, right?
Yeah, Tawny Man.
Yeah. When are we doing? Have we picked a time for that?
Well, we were saying the first weekend of August, but now maybe not, but we'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, and then
So
Sword of
potentially there's
Truth-
many things.
yeah, Sword of Truth will be on Leanna's channel the last Friday in August.
Yeah.
So the
Is that the
28th.
kitty?
Since,
we're like,
Oh, can you hear my
eight
cat?
books deep.
yeah.
I heard a cat.
honestly, hearing that, I was like, is that my cat?
I know who's that.
He needs attention.
Don't they
Yeah.
always?
You can't see him, but
Where
he's
is
down
my
here
cat?
begging for pets, as he should. It's his right as a very spoiled kitty.
It is Catterday.
Oh, wait, I have a live show later today. I'm silly because it's my Patron book club live show. this
Oh.
afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I mean,
So
I
if you
have that
guys-
tomorrow.
Yeah. If you guys are a patron or a channel member for me, we do a book club every month. We're reviewing Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert over 5 p.m. today
right.
on my channel, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
What,
she got.
can you give us a spoiler of
mine.
thumbs up, thumbs down?
I really liked it. They're all tops going at it with each other.
Okay.
Oh, like with their dicks, like.
Well, no, it's two guys and a girl.
It's 2 guys and a girl.
It's MMW. I don't know. Everybody fucks each other, but like they're all tops. Like no one's a bottom. So it's like spicy in a good way.
Okay.
I'm a top who wants to be with other tops. So for me, it was like my cake.
You felt seen.
I felt seen.
Oh man. Yeah, we're tomorrow night. We've got a Patron book club for White Ivy by Susie Yang, which was pitched as a thriller, and it's not a thriller.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it'll be interesting. I think like one person liked it.
Gonna be interesting.
We're finishing the Dandelion Dynasty, so we're gonna do Speaking Bones.
Oh, nice.
Thank you guys. Yeah, you guys come. It's always nice to see you on Mondays.
Yeah. That reminds me, I'm gonna do like a bracket style for book recommendations from people. So stay tuned for that. I keep forgetting to ask my patrons for recommendations on what needs to go in the bracket. But
oh, one last thing. We're just kind of chit-chatting now about nonsense. But Mara, several years ago you sent me a book and I finally read it.
I'm so excited. Oh, yay! Did you like it?
I really, really enjoyed it.
It's so fun. It's very it's
I never thought
House.
It's House MD sexy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In the Regency era.
Yeah, Regency.
I don't like that you're implying that House MD is not already sexy.
Oh, well, we just learned something about what Leanna's into.
I feel like that checks with like Leanna's kind of personality.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean
honestly, House just goes around telling everybody they're wrong all day. Like, how is that not my thing?
Yeah, so it checks. It's kind of the same way.
Leanna wants
like,
to be
like Grump Sunshine. This is the epitome of Grump Sunshine. Like, I really enjoyed it.
It
only took me 3 years.
You liked it.
It only took me 3 years to read it.
I thought it was one you would enjoy. I like Eloisa James.
You were correct. I usually don't like Eloisa James. I think that's why I didn't read her for so long. All the ones I've read from Eloisa James have been very unsmutty. And this one, I'm like, oh, they get some fucking in this. Like, there's some smut. And I was like, okay.
I read that on a ferry from Vancouver. And it was a little awkward because they were banging. And I always feel a little awkward when I'm reading
smut in public.
Yeah, I always feel a little awkward.
Shame.
I think it's far more.
I'm kind of over it at this point.
Panic-inducing if you're listening to it, and there's always the risk of a headphone malfunction.
It happens at work. It's happened to me. Like I come back from lunch and my headphones just start playing and I'm like, they're not in my ears. They're not in my ears. Or like they'll have popped out of my phone and then it starts playing on full volume.
Well, I've never wow.
Or like my phone is the Bluetooth. My phone is connected, to my car via Bluetooth. And so like for music and audiobooks. And like oftentimes my brother will get in the car and I listen to it really fast. And it doesn't sound fast to me until someone else is around. And then you kind of like hear it as they would hear it. And he's like, what is, and I'm like, talking about it's coming out of my car.
Yeah, I took my car to get serviced and I forgot that like I have Bluetooth. So it like automatically connects to my car speaker. And it had been the Read Me Romance podcast. And I was like,
I mean, it's rarely that it's smut in my car that,
right.
Blasted. I feel like it's more just the speed, maybe some violence.
Yeah. Some squelching. I mean, there's that in Abercrombie.
There is indeed much squelching.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay, guys. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
If she hates it, you might like it. That it's a good barometer.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. Well, guys, thank you all for joining us. Join us in 3 months on Bethany's channel and have a good Saturday. Bye.
Bye.